I'm Bill Ritter.
I'm Sandra Bookman in for Sade. The shooting in Queens comes in the midst of an apparent NYPD crackdown on criminals using scooters and mopeds to make their getaway.
Today, cheers as the two wounded cops left the hospital less than 6 hours after the shootout with a 19-year-old migrant from Venezuela.
Eyewitness News reporter NJ Burkett live in East Elmhurst with our lead story. NJ?
And right, Sandra, what you mentioned about that crackdown, what happened here last night, overnight, was a direct result of that crackdown. The officers spotted a young man on an e-bike driving in the wrong lane, driving the wrong way. They decided to pull him over, and they found themselves in a gunfight with a 19-year-old man wanted for robbery. In the middle of 23rd Avenue, spent shell casings, a semi-automatic pistol, and an e-bike. The 19-year-old robbery suspect was taken into police custody with a bullet wound in his foot. The two officers survived. 26-year-old Christopher Abreu struck in the leg, wheeled from the emergency room barely 6 hours later by his partner, Richard Yaruso, also 26, saved from a bullet wound in his abdomen by his body armor.
Our officers responded with a level of discipline, a level of focus, a level of professionalism. And today we thank God.
It happened at 1:40 this morning in East Elmhurst. The officers were wounded after chasing down the suspect. After he ditched the bike and took off on foot, investigators say he turned and fired on them.
The officers began a foot pursuit which led for several blocks. During the pursuit, the suspect fired multiple rounds at our officers, who then returned fire.
Police officials said the suspect's last known address was a nearby motel, serving as a shelter for migrants. Identified as 19-year-old Bernardo Raul Castro Mata, a recent immigrant from Venezuela. Few seem to know him, telling reporters that he had not lived there in several weeks.
Similar scooters and bikes are being used citywide to commit crimes. These crimes include shootings, robberies, and phone snatches.
In fact, NYPD detectives believe Castro Mata is the young man in blue, pictured here with two other suspects, wanted for stealing purses from women in Queens a month ago.
We have over 80 robbery patterns citywide involving incidents where the perpetrators are riding motorized scooters or motorcycles. That's over 80 robbery patterns alone, encompassing over hundreds and hundreds of incidents.
And those numbers are staggering. Robberies by thieves on motorcycles and e-bikes are up 400% over last year. As for the suspect in this case, I'm told he remains hospitalized. Charges against him have yet to be announced.